Welcome to the Zombie Story Zone. Are you ready to embark on a chilling adventure through a zombie-infested wasteland? Today's gripping tale, Train of the Dead, will have you on the edge of your seat as we follow a group of desperate survivors aboard a mysterious train, fighting for their lives and their humanity. But before we dive into this heart-pounding thriller, make sure to hit that like button to show your support. Subscribe to our channel, The Zombie Story Zone, for more spine-tingling zombie stories. Tap the bell icon to never miss an episode. It's your ticket to survival. Share this story with friends who love a good zombie adventure. Let's spread the thrill. And don't forget to comment below. Your thoughts, theories, and favorite moments from the story mean the world to us. Your feedback helps us create even better content for zombie fans like you. Now, buckle up for a journey like no other. This is Train of the Dead, where every stop could be your last. Let's get started. Sit back, stay alert, and enjoy the ride.
In the beginning, the end was silent. News anchors spoke in calm tones about isolated outbreaks. Government officials urged the public to remain calm, insisting they had everything under control. By the time the truth came out, it was too late. The infection spread like wildfire, consuming cities, towns, and the spaces in between. The undead didn't just take lives, they took hope. Survivors huddled in basements, barricaded in shopping malls, or ran aimlessly through the wilderness. But rumors began to circulate. A train still operating, running between the ruins of cities, carrying survivors to safety. It wasn't clear where the train came from or who controlled it. Some said it was military, others a rogue group of engineers trying to save humanity. Whatever the truth, the train became a lifeline, and for many, their last chance. Kaylee crouched behind a rusted-out sedan, her breath shallow as she scanned the ruined metro station ahead. The sign above the entrance read Union Station, though several of the letters had long since fallen away. She had been following whispers of this place for weeks, a rendezvous point for the so-called Death Express. Behind her, the streets of Denver were silent, but for the faint groans of the undead. She adjusted her makeshift armor, layers of duct tape, and scavenged padding. A crowbar hung from her belt, her only weapon since losing her rifle 2 weeks ago. She glanced at her watch. 5:47 p.m. The train, if it existed, was supposed to arrive at dusk. Katie wiped sweat from her brow and pushed forward, darting between shadows as she approached the station entrance. The air inside was stale, thick with the scent of mold and decay. Broken benches and overturned trash cans littered the platform. Kaylee's stomach churned as she spotted a decayed corpse sprawled across the tracks, its limbs twisted unnaturally. Then she heard a faint whistle cutting through the silence. Her heart leapt. The train was real. She sprinted toward the sound, boots crunching on debris. But as she reached the platform edge, the undead stirred. Figures shuffled out from dark corners, their lifeless eyes locking onto her. No, 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 Kaylee muttered, gripping her crowbar. The whistle grew louder, the sound of wheels screeching against steel filling the air. Headlights pierced the gloom, illuminating the platform as the train roared into view. A door slid open, and a figure stepped out. "Get on!" The man barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. Kaylee didn't hesitate. She bolted for the train, swinging her crowbar to knock down a grasping hand. She leapt onto the platform as the train lurched forward, the door slamming shut behind her. She collapsed onto the floor, gasping for breath. The moans of the undead faded as the train picked up speed, carrying her into the night. Chapter 2. Aboard the Death Express. The first thing Kaylee noticed was the heat. The train was stuffy, the air thick with the scent of sweat and desperation. She sat up, taking in her surroundings. The car was packed with people, some armed, some injured, all wearing the same look of weary determination. "Welcome aboard," said the man who had pulled her in. He was tall, with a grizzled beard and a rifle slung over his shoulder. His jacket bore a patch that read Harris. "Thanks," Kaylee managed, still catching her breath. "Name's Harris," he said, extending a hand. "I'm the conductor. What's yours, Kaylee?" Kaylee didn't hesitate. She bolted for the train, swinging her crowbar to knock down a grasping hand. She leapt onto the platform as the train lurched forward, the door slamming shut behind her. She collapsed onto the floor, gasping for breath. The moans of the undead faded as the train picked up speed, carrying her into the night. Chapter 2. Aboard the Death Express. The first thing Kaylee noticed was the heat. The train was stuffy, the air thick with the scent of sweat and desperation. She sat up, taking in her surroundings. The car was packed with people, some armed, some injured, all wearing the same look of weary determination. "Welcome aboard," said the man who had pulled her in. He was tall, with a grizzled beard and a rifle slung over his shoulder. His jacket bore a patch that read Harris. "Thanks," Kaylee managed, still catching her breath. "Name's Harris," he said, extending a hand. "I'm the conductor. What's yours, Kaylee?" The next morning, Kaylee was woken by the screech of brakes. The train had stopped at a small town, the skeletal remains of buildings casting long shadows in the early light. "Scouts, with me," Harris barked, and a group of armed passengers disembarked to clear the tracks of debris. Kaylee stayed behind, watching from the window. One of the scouts, a young woman named Alana, returned with a cart full of supplies scavenged from a nearby store. "You'll be a scavenger," Harris told Kaylee later, handing her a list of basic instructions. "It's dangerous, but we need people who can think on their feet." Kaylee accepted the assignment, though the thought of venturing into the ruins filled her with dread. A week passed without incident, though tensions aboard the train grew. Supplies were dwindling, and tempers flared as passengers argued over food and space. Then it happened. During a routine supply run, one of the scavengers was bitten. Harris didn't hesitate. The man was escorted to the back of the train, his protest drowned out by the roar of the engine. "What happens now?" Kaylee asked Alana, who sat beside her. "They leave him," Alana said, her voice flat. Or worse, Kaylee felt a pang of guilt. The scavenger had been reckless, but he didn't deserve this. Chapter 6. A Deadly Detour. The train's route took it through a mountainous region, where a rock slide had blocked the tracks. Harris ordered the passengers to disembark and help clear the debris. As they worked, the groans of the undead echoed through the valley. The horde arrived before they could finish, forcing the group to retreat. Kaylee fought alongside the others, swinging her crowbar with everything she had. But the undead were relentless, their sheer numbers overwhelming the defenders. Harris sounded the whistle, signaling the passengers to retreat to the train. Kaylee barely made it aboard, her arms trembling from exhaustion. Tensions reached a boiling point when a stash of food went missing. Accusations flew, and a fistfight broke out between two passengers. Harris intervened, but the damage was done. Trust was shattered, and the group fractured into cliques. Kaylee tried to stay neutral, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone aboard the train was hiding something. Chapter 8. Chicago or Bust. As the train approached its destination, the passengers grew increasingly anxious. The radio had gone silent days ago, leaving them to wonder if Chicago was still safe. When they finally arrived, the city was a ruin, its streets crawling with the undead. "Looks like this is the end of the line," Harris said grimly, but Kaylee wasn't ready to give up. She rallied the survivors, leading them in a desperate fight to secure a safe zone. The train, now battered and blooded, became a symbol of hope. Though many were lost along the way, those who survived found strength in each other. Kaylee stood on the platform, watching as the undead shuffled aimlessly beyond the barricades. The journey had changed her, hardening her resolve, and forging unbreakable bonds with her fellow survivors. The train would move again, she knew, but for now, it was time to rest.